What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. I hope you come back to the channel around 5:30, 6 o'clock Central Time tonight. Probably an hour or two from when you're seeing this movie. I'll be live streaming, hanging out, and watching Shut In probably, which is at 9 Eastern, or 8 o'clock our time, my time, 4 hours from now. So it'll be a fun night to hang out. Maybe pick yourself up some bud or some beer. Get ready to hang out for a chill night. I've got a huge box of packages to open up, and I look forward to seeing you there. Now, the Joe Rogan saga has been interesting. It's fizzling out a little bit. People are a little getting tired of the story, but it keeps changing. And last night, while I couldn't figure out if it was parody or not, CNN literally could not figure out why Joe Rogan might be so popular. An international newsreader, Don Lemon, had a meltdown. It's like his brain shut off. And then there's been a whole new slew of articles where the media has basically given up, saying, well, people are just evil, like we always said. It's been an absolutely hilarious event. I'm going to get into all of that after a quick word from this video sponsor, Kamikoto. Huge shout out to this video sponsor, Kamikoto. That's right, Kamikoto makes Japanese steel kitchen knives using traditional techniques from Japan. Over 800 years of Japanese technology and expertise have gone into creating the steel that this knife has been meticulously handcrafted from, using techniques that date all the way back to the Edo period of Japan. Kamikoto only uses steel sourced from mills in Japan. Each knife comes in a beautiful, heavy-duty wood box. It makes sure that the knife is stored safely. Each knife is individually inspected and comes with a lifetime guarantee. These are knives that I personally own and use. I got a set through this promotion. Over Christmas, I used it to cut a beautiful brisket that I had made for the holidays, and cut ham and turkey and all sorts of things. Not only did it work flawlessly, but it was a talking point at the table. The knives felt like the perfect weight. They were perfectly balanced. And on top of all of this, Kamikoto is currently having a massive Valentine's Day sale. Just for you guys, on top of the sale, you can get an additional $50 off any purchase you make with the discount code TheQuartering. So click the link below or go to kamikoto.com/TheQuartering and use promo code TheQuartering to save an extra $50 today. Now, here's an article from the Daily Wire saying, it's not parody. CNN really can't figure out why Joe Rogan is so popular. CNN is determined to figure out why the Joe Rogan podcast is so darned popular, with millions of listeners, I think 11 million plus, around the world. To help crack the case, the media company, comprised of journalism graduates and fearless truth tellers, as Don Lemon might say, interviewed two, quote, experts as to why Rogan has such a loyal following. The segment sounded like a parody, as it offered the most basic advice for straight news journalism, which CNN supposedly partakes in on a daily basis. In short, CNN guests reported back that Rogan is successful because he interviews people across the political spectrum, trusts his audience to make up their own mind, and is entertaining thanks to his background in comedy. Oops. Quote, Joe Rogan is one of the most popular podcast hosts in the world, despite a series of controversies. CNN Business spoke with a researcher who has studied his appeal to explain why his audience loves him. Like, are you kidding me? Do you needed to speak to an expert? Of course, gets ruthlessly ratioed. If you've ever wondered why you lost 90% of your audience, this is why. Can the same expert explain why Brian Stelter has such a tiny viewership? Here's 2,600 likes. Listen to his podcast, then listen to this piece you just put out. If you can't figure out why people like him and don't like you, then you'll never understand. Just ruthlessly. They could listen to every second of the 1,774 episodes, and they would still have no clue as to why the average American would rather hear Joe chat to an interesting guest than hear 10 people on a partisan political panel, all of them simultaneously screaming. I mean, it's so hilarious that, like, they don't understand, because these people who, the elites, the truth tellers, they're the ones that they view themselves as better than you. They hate you, but they need you. They believe they are better than you in every conceivable way, which is why nobody watches them, because it literally oozes off of them. Remember the famous meltdown of Anna Kasparian saying, "Yeah, I'm better than you." Remember that? They believe that. Joe Rogan hosts one of the most popular podcasts in the world. A voiceover says over a montage of Rogan saying that he is not anti-poke, but despite his claims, he has used his platform to make false and inaccurate statements about the coof. People don't care. Joe Rogan does not present himself as a truth teller. He presents himself as an interviewer, a host, a platform for people to come on. I don't think that normal people can't tell the difference. Normal people know the difference between willingly lying, which is what we see the mainstream media do, and making a mistake, which Joe Rogan has done and apologizes for it. What makes him so magnetic to his audience is his very vocal resistance to tribalism, the research fellow explained. This is somebody who can have on his podcast Ben Shapiro and Alex Jones and have a deep and interesting, meaningful conversation with them and in one breath, and have on Cornel West and Bernie Sanders and do the exact same thing. Thing is, most people reject tribalism. Like, this is something that they don't get. Most people reject tribalism. They have the way they vote, whatever, but real life happens, and they aren't interested in being blindly loyal to one side of the aisle. The audience feels that they're being trusted to draw their own conclusions, Rosenfeld said of JRE. And that stands in really stark contrast to the way that a lot of other outlets have sort of shifted the direction of covering the news and analyzing the news, in the way that it feels like they're pushing the audience towards making the, quote, proper conclusions. To quote my seventh grade self, no doy. I mean, are you kidding me? You'd have to be an absolute moron to not know exactly why people like Joe Rogan. And then here's SF Gate giving up. Spotify and Joe Rogan are invincible. I have now lived through 5 different technological epochs of popular music. I grew up with cassette that replaced vinyl. I suppose 8-tracks as a dominant form of albums. Then came CDs. Then came me logging on to Napster on my work computer to steal an MP3 of Let Love Be Your Energy by Robbie Williams, only to have a colleague yell at me for singing along too loudly. Then came iTunes Store. Then came Spotify, my primary only way. If you're not familiar with Joe Rogan's work by now, you've done a pretty good job of hiding under a rock. Rogan started off as a stand-up comedian, an actor, and hosted Fear Factor on NBC, then became a main color guy for UFC, and is now arguably the biggest podcaster in America, an undeserving heir to Howard Stern's shock jock crown. Aww. Aw, you mad? As such, he's right there alongside Bill Maher, Adam Carolla, and Madison Cawthorn as people who trend on a weekly and even daily basis for either saying something awful or defending someone who did. Oh, salty much? Salty? When Joe Rogan says the N-word at least 24 times on his podcast, or when he tells his audience that young, healthy Americans don't need the poke, or when he admits to treating his own coof with the horsey sauce, those 3 things all happen. He's merely doing what Spotify paid him to do. The shamelessness is the business plan. Cope. I mean, cope more. For my part, I still have my Spotify family plan. I still open the app every day and listen to all my favorite dad rock. I thought real hard about switching over to Bandcamp, which pays artists a more fair royalty, but couldn't be bothered. It would have been a whole new thing, and I would have had to cancel my Spotify account and then set up a new account over there and then set up my kids. Exactly. This is exactly, bolsters my point yesterday that based on the data, no one actually quit. No one actually left Spotify. They like to think they made a dent, but they didn't make a dent. And MSNBC going full cope. Joe Rogan and Spotify know there's an audience for his racist, sexist garbage. 12 million people enjoy his content, and I don't think that they would classify it as such. I'm not an expert. I don't pay for Spotify because I, in general, don't care for their company. But I know a lot of people enjoy Joe Rogan. I back Joe Rogan. I enjoy his clips that make their way to YouTube, but I don't view his content as such. And it's just a full cope. Oh, Rumble S-Pack plummets 19% of Joe Rogan's loyalty to Spotify, dashes hope. Who actually thought that that deal was going to go through? And they're trying to they're trying to put this as a win. Who actually thought Joe Rogan was going to leave Spotify? All this does is prove that he does have $100 million options still on the table, even after everything. This whole cope from the media has been hilarious. I mean, you see, besides Spotify just added a long list of Sweet Freedom by Michael McDonald, so how can I possibly stay mad at them? This other article just saying I'm outraged. I'm outraged enough to write tweets about it, but I don't really want to actually do anything about it. The definition of slacktivism, and that's something that people always have to remember when it comes to this garbage fake outrage on Twitter. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see you on my live stream in a couple hours. We'll talk to you again real soon.